That was probably rude of me. You're sorry about that. Charlton H. once said, yes, you shouldn't call people names like that. Fans were unprepared for the harsh reality of his private blacklist, though. H. listed the 9 performers he couldn't bear in a series of unguarded interviews and unearthed memoir notes, labeling some of them false, some lazy, and a couple outright hazardous to deal with. The iconic actor didn't hold anything back, from on-set conflicts to political animosity. The person who made the cut will surprise you. Harrison, Rex. Tensions between two Hollywood titans subtly threatened to overwhelm the epic's grandeur during the 1965 filming of The Agony and the Ecstasy. Rex Harrison, who played the stern and uncompromising Pope Julius II, shared the screen with Charlton H., who played the fervent and tortured artist Michelangelo. Behind the scenes, a similar kind of conflict simmered between the performers themselves, despite the film's focus on the artistic and philosophical conflicts between the two historical personalities. H. and Harrison never seemed to agree, according to production notes taken on the scene and later verified by entries on the movie's Wikipedia page. The interaction between the two was uncomfortable from the start due to their divergent personalities and performance styles. Renowned for his rigorous, physically taxing technique, H. was devoted to capturing Michelangelo's inner struggle. Harrison, on the other hand, is said to have found H.'s harsh tactics annoying and to have infused his portrayal of the Pope with a more sophisticated and cerebral vitality. Eventually, what started off as creative disagreements turned into personal estrangement. Production staff members have said that Harrison would make a special effort to stay away from H., both during and after filming breaks. Even though H. doesn't explicitly say that he hates Harrison, their coldness toward one another says a lot. Later memoirs and interviews would allude to a working relationship characterized by a lack of camaraderie and mutual frustration. Ironically, their tense relationship at the beginning might have contributed to the dramatic impact of their performances, as each man engaged in a struggle of wills both on and off screen. However, there wasn't much reconciliation once the cameras stopped rolling. In order to ensure that whatever creative genius that resulted from their partnership was never replicated, Harrison in particular kept his distance from H in later endeavors. One of the more subtly intriguing side stories in Hollywood history is the professional Cold War that existed between these two titans of classic film. Peckinpah, Sam. Tensions between star Charlton H. and maverick director Sam Peckinpah escalated on the turbulent set of Major Dundee, 1965, leading to one of the most dramatic behind-the-scenes altercations in H.'s career. H., who is well known for his demanding on-screen persona and military-style discipline, came to the set anticipating a strong leadership team and a clear goal. Instead, he experienced the wild, unpredictable style of Peckinpah, a talented but unstable filmmaker who frequently preferred chaos to order. Confusion dogged the production from the beginning. Peckinpah frequently made abrupt last-minute script changes and was known for rewriting scenes on the fly, going against studio expectations. H. was the most irritated member of the cast and crew. H. was a devoted professional who took great satisfaction in planning and organization, values that were in stark contrast to Peckinpah's impulsive, defiant style. When Peckinpah started yelling unexpected commands and altering sequences mid-shoot on one especially hectic day of production, the situation reached a breaking point. After weeks of uncertainty and disarray, On finally lost his temper. H., still dressed as the title character Major Dundee, pulled his saber and came straight at the director in a scene that would go down in Hollywood history. The crew froze in horror as H., soaring in hand, bore down on Peckinpah, according to set reports. According to reports, the director dodged the actor's ire by leaping out of the path just in time. There was more to it than theater or showmanship. It was a real, almost violent outburst that stemmed from weeks of stress and creative conflict. Those who saw the incident realized how serious it was, but Han would later minimize it, even laughing about it in interviews. Han did not abandon the movie in spite of the controversy. As a sign of his dedication to the movie rather than Peckinpah, he actually decided to forgo his pay in order to keep the production going. Since then, Major Dundee's enduring mythos has included the conflict between the rebellious director and the authoritative star. A film that was born out of both cinematic ambition and the collision of unadulterated, flammable personalities on the harsh movie theater frontier. The narrator is Frank Langella. Despite his towering appearance and dramatic depictions of biblical and historical people, Charlton H. was not always a pleasant person to work with. Indeed, in his memoir Dropped Names, Famous Men and Women as I Knew Them, actor Frank Langella provided one of the more scathing character analyses. When Langella, who is renowned for his own gravity and nuanced performances, thought back on his encounter with H., he did not hold back and painted a glaringly negative picture of the Hollywood legend. According to Langella, H is as humorless as a CAT scan and has about as much erotic appeal as a railroad tie. The witty and contemptuous remarks provided insight into the supposed stiffness and icy professionalism that H was renowned for behind the scenes. The connotation was obvious even if Langella did not describe a particular altercation. There was none of the spontaneity, warmth, or sense of camaraderie that many performers value on set when working with H. These insults weren't limited to idols. They were part of a larger Hollywood perception that Hahn, in spite of his obvious brilliance and discipline, could be emotionally distant and unyielding. Some saw him as the uncompromising, exact, and sometimes overly serious embodiment of the old-fashioned, unyielding masculinity of a bygone period. In a field where emotional nuance and openness are valued more and more, H's straightforward demeanor can come out as unfriendly or out of sync. Langella's criticism is especially powerful since it contrasts sharply with the admiration that H frequently garnered from both fans and filmmakers. It reveals how some of his contemporaries viewed him, not as the powerful Moses or the honorable Judah Ben-Hur, but rather as a man who was challenging to relate to on a personal level. Any memoir has some subjectivity, of course, and Langella's aggressive tone is a characteristic of his writing. Nevertheless, the hurt caused by those comments fueled H's complex legacy, a legacy based on his complicated, occasionally frigid relationships with those he left behind, in addition to his legendary roles and cinematic achievements. Edner. An intense ideological conflict that would propel him into the national spotlight broke out during Charlton H's term as president of the Screen Actors Guild, or SAG, in the early 1980s. For a political dispute that rocked Hollywood, not for his movie roles. Edner, a liberal activist and fellow actor who was then one of the most identifiable figures on television because of Lou Grant, was at the center of the controversy. A dispute over union policy soon turned into a high-profile public spat that revealed significant rifts in the entertainment sector. As a devoted Reagan supporter and lifelong conservative, Hahn brought a distinct right-wing viewpoint to his position as SAG president. He was cautious of actors using the Guild as a forum for wider social engagement, and argued for strong anti-communist positions as well as a diminished role for unions in politics. Asner, on the other hand, was quite involved with the Guild at the time and saw it as a place for solidarity, progressive values, and support for political concerns, such as opposition to U.S. foreign policy in Central America. Movie Maker magazine claims that the conflict between H and extended beyond discussions held behind closed doors. It spread to talk shows, newspapers, and industry gatherings, where each guy utilized his public position to support his idea of SAG's function. Asner accused H of trying to stifle political speech and deprive the union of its moral voice, while Hahn accused Asner of politicizing the union for leftist ends. During the Reagan years, the dispute came to represent Hollywood's wider cultural split. The feud was anything but a civil dispute. It was incisive, intimate, and firmly based in opposing worldviews. Asner thought the union should support moral concerns and speak out against injustice, while Hahn saw it as a professional organization designed to safeguard contracts and earnings. Perceiving that he was defending the Guild's soul, both men refused to give up. The Hahn-Asner rivalry is still one of the most well-known and contentious moments in SAG history, despite the fact that time has softened the conflict's edges. It presented two opposing ideas about the place of artists in society, not merely two performers at odds. One is based on activity and conscience, while the other is based on tradition and structure. Although Sophia Loren and Charlton H., two of the brightest actors of their time, seemed to have a lot in common in the epic historical drama El Cid 1961, their relationship was everything but romantic behind the scenes. Their animosity has actually become the subject of Hollywood folklore, a simmering conflict characterized by hostility, avoidance, and a complete collapse in interpersonal relationships. Tom Letham, a film historian, claims in an article for Far Out magazine that H was particularly uneasy working with Loren, especially in situations that called for physical or emotional intimacy. H reportedly refused to even look at Loren during her close-up shots, despite the fact that they played star-crossed lovers in the movie. He insisted on hiring a body double instead, which is practically unheard of for a lead actor in a romantic drama of this magnitude. Their separation wasn't merely symbolic, it was purposeful and very intimate. Loren's celebrity demands contributed to H's annoyance. She pushed for script revisions, often arrived late to set, and asked for extra accommodations, such as a personal hairdresser and a role that was larger than initially written. These requests looked indulgent and unprofessional to H., an actor who is renowned for his discipline, timeliness, and respect for the production hierarchy. It was impossible to conceal the instantaneous clash of work styles. Years later, H acknowledged that their amorous moments made him feel the most uneasy. In one particularly telling statement, he admitted that he was actually looking into the future when their characters were supposed to be lost in each other's gaze. This was a subtle but clear indication of how estranged he felt from Loren at that time. The bond between H and Loren never grew, even if they had chemistry on television. When not filming, both stars mostly kept to themselves, which kept the atmosphere on set cold. Instead of mutual esteem or admiration, the professional relationship was established out of need. Even though El Cid became a success, the film's production left a lasting sense of hostility that neither performer ever really tried to hide. Their relationship became a case study of how two powerful characters might work their magic on television while hardly putting up with one another off of it. Gardner, Ava. The problematic production of 55 Days at Ping, 1963, is portrayed in Radar Online's retrospective, which is based on Mark Elliott's biography, as one of the most turbulent periods in Hollywood's final great star Charlton H's illustrious career. This is mostly because of his erratic co-star, Ava Gardner. Even though they were both already famous in Hollywood, their working relationship was tense due to their different temperaments and the erratic conduct of the Gardner. A certain degree of discipline on set, timeliness, planning and focus are demanded of the consummate professional. Conversely, Gardner had established a reputation for being erratic and impetuous. Elliott claims that Gardner's frequent mood swings, persistent tardiness, and what he perceived to be blatant disrespect for the production schedule infuriated H right away. The situation was made worse by her claimed drinking on set. She apparently disappeared completely from the set at one point, only to be seen later on Madrid's streets, laughing uncontrollably and waving a red cape in front of passing Spanish cabs like they were bulls in a corrida. Gardner's antics weren't just annoying to H, who was bearing a lot of the narrative burden of the movie, but they were also unacceptable from a professional standpoint. During one of her prolonged absences, he apparently lost it and started advocating for her replacement. The tension between the two actors was evident to everyone on set, and even though producers decided to keep Gardner in the part, H's patience had run dangerously thin. Despite their on-screen conflict, H and Gardner were able to keep a compelling relationship. In subtle ways, however, the tension was apparent. Clipped exchanges, stiff body language, and a lack of sincere affection in their scenes together. They were obviously acting out a real-life professional confrontation rather than merely a challenging plot. For H, who took pride in his leadership and accountability during production, the event left a sour taste in his mouth. Although 55 Days at Peking was a massive international co-production, the set was characterized by pandemonium, conflicting egos,
and one leading man's frantic attempt to maintain control in the midst of the storm. Radar Online's retrospective also mentions Vanessa Redgrave in Charlton Hollywood's Last Icon, written by Mark Elliott. During the 1972 production of Macbeth, On's frustrations are exposed, especially with regard to his co-star Vanessa Redgrave. Redgrave played the cunning Lady Macbeth, and H played the hapless Scottish king in what was supposed to be a daring film interpretation of Shakespeare's tragedy. However, their approaches to creativity behind the camera couldn't have been more dissimilar. Shakespeare was a hallowed text to Hahn, a classically trained actor renowned for his accuracy and respect for structure. Because he felt that the play's force was in its precise words and well-crafted rhythm, he approached Macbeth with a strong devotion to the original language. Redgrave, on the other hand, was politically charged, spontaneous and emotionally motivated, coming from a more interpretive heritage. H's personal writings reveal that she was a bulking type of performer who was extremely hesitant to accept any departure from the written text. This suggests that despite her dedication to Shakespeare, she fought anything that deviated from her internalized understanding of the text. Personal pressure soon resulted from this creative intensity. Redgrave's unwillingness to work with others on changes or consider different perspectives really irritated. His more fluid approach to blocking and performance energy contrasted with her penchant for set rehearsal selections and aversion to last-minute directorial alterations. Redgrave perceived inconsistency where H saw flexibility. H viewed it as intransigence, but Redgrave saw it as faithfulness to the scripture. Although there was never overt conflict in their professional relationship, there was always a hint of creative friction. Privately honing, it was evident that they had trouble understanding Redgrave's method. Although he appreciated her talent, he was frustrated by her stiff posture in certain sequences, especially those that called for emotional turbulence or physical spontaneity. As a result, the movie never really conveyed the cohesion or chemistry its protagonists may have had with more artistic harmony, despite being visually ambitious and supported by two powerful performances. Macbeth served as yet another reminder that, despite Shakespeare's enduring genius serving as a basis, cooperation between actors is only as strong as their mutual trust and willingness to compromise. Despite their skills, he and Redgrave were never able to totally achieve this balance. Paul Newman and Charlton H were formerly thought to be close buddies. Two titans of vintage Hollywood who had a long-standing friendship built on decades of fame, respect for one another, and professional admiration. However, their friendship ended abruptly and bitterly in the early 1980s. Undone by politics, not by industry competition or personal treachery. Tensions among Hollywood's elite changed along with the political landscape in America when Ronald Reagan was elected. A strong conservative, who later became a fervent Reagan supporter, welcomed the new government wholeheartedly. In contrast, Newman remained adamantly liberal and harshly criticized Reagan's policies, especially those pertaining to the military-industrial complex, the arts, and civil rights. Once a courteous disagreement, their ideological differences became more intensely personal. When the two were asked to discuss current events and their opinions on the film industry during a combined television appearance on The Last Word, it was the tipping point. Accounts from the time indicate that Newman did not try to hide his contempt for Reagan's presidency, doubting the morality of its followers and denouncing the administration's aims. Was clearly already incensed over Newman's public criticism of the president. A professional encounter between longtime friends turned awkwardly chilly. According to reports, Newman declined to shake H's hand at the conclusion of the episode, a gesture that astounded both the crowd and the host. It was more than a simple snub for H. The betrayal was made public. He thought that although friends may dispute, there were boundaries you didn't cross. Newman had made a mistake. The fallout was immediate and irreversible. H and Newman never spoke again, even though they had a shared past as two of Hollywood's most esteemed leading men. Their once close friendship remained strained until both men died in 2008, only months apart, as interviews and memoirs subsequently revealed that neither sought reconciliation. Their disagreement turned into a microcosm of America's deepening political polarization and a reflection of a larger split in Hollywood. It also acted as a sobering reminder that, particularly in the harsh, glaring spotlight of public life, even enduring ties can sever when fundamental principles clash. Spielberg, Stephen. A July 2024 FanWire piece claims that Charlton H. held a silent but persistent animosity against Steven Spielberg for what many saw as a turning point in Hollywood casting history. The origin of Spielberg's choice to not cast H as Chief Martin Brody in Jaws 1975 created anxiety. A decision that would not only influence the movie's reputation, but also dash any hopes of cooperation between the two titans of filmmaking. H was still one of the most well-known and esteemed celebrities in the business at the moment. His status as a leading man was solidified with his legendary roles in Ben-Hur, The Ten Commandments, and Planet of the Apes. In comparison, Spielberg was a young filmmaker who was still making a name for himself in the studio system after the success of Duel and the Sugarland Express. H believed that his possible role in Jaws was not only conceivable, but also a logical one. Spielberg, however, had a different perspective. He chose to cast Roy Scheider, a gifted but little-known actor, as Brody, because he thought a well-known star would lessen the tension of the shark-hunting movie. According to reports, Spielberg was concerned that using a megastar like H would give away too much about the plot. The sense of danger and surprise in the movie would be diminished if viewers assumed H's character would live. Authenticity and tension were more important to the rookie director than marquee value. According to reports, H was incensed when he heard the verdict. He took the rejection personally, seeing it as an insult to his star status and credibility, rather than a creative decision. He swore he would never again collaborate with Spielberg, and he kept his word. H vehemently refused Spielberg's offer of a part in the Wub 2 comedy 1941. Scheduling or storyline have nothing to do with the rejection. It had to do with principle. This resentment wasn't a fleeting ego attack. It persisted for the remainder of H's life. Spielberg's ultimate domination of Hollywood and the many opportunities that could have followed did not cause H to change his mind. His view of the shifting Hollywood scene, where huge stars were no longer assured and innovative risks increasingly predominated, changed dramatically as a result of the Jaws snub. It served as a sobering reminder to H that even legends may be abandoned. Which 9 actors do you believe Charlton H despises the most? Please share your thoughts in the space provided below. We hope this video has been useful to you. If you enjoy it, remember to subscribe to the channel, share it and give a like. I appreciate you viewing, and I hope to see you in the upcoming videos. Farewell.